Hey, welcome, people of life, light in the dark. Today, I'm just having a little chit chat session on this glorious, beautiful day. And today's topic is going to be of the chit chat session. It's on how we're our own enemies and how that plays within this whole situation that we find ourselves in as the only true human on the earth. Human. Hu. So I don't mean animal man, I mean human on the earth. So basically, the mind is a powerful thing, and I always harp on that with you guys. I always talk about how our mind is so powerful and beyond belief, beyond what we want to think about it. It is amazing, truly amazing, the mind. In the mind, we know that it can be your heaven or it can be your hell, depending on which way you want to. And then you can also affect others with it. And we'll get into that a little bit in the discussion because it's going to lead up to that eventually. But I'm doing a video. I'm doing one of those videos I make with my film pro. So, and in the midst of it, of really doing that video, I had some other thoughts on my mind that came to mind, and it was very critical in talking about this subject with our minds and how we pretty much determine things. We determine our reality as well. And as a very special group of people, it's very critical to understand exactly what that means, because we have been put in a situation that's unique to many other people's situations. You see what I'm saying? So so basically, I was trying to let that pass by right quick, and it's raining out here, and I don't want to go out there and get my hair is looking pretty. I don't want to get it wet. But anyways, uh, they people say that we're our worst enemies, and I wondered how. But now I'm beginning. It's beginning. Whenever we ask a question and we put it out in the universe as well, it's very powerful. It's very powerful what we do. Not only a question, but it can be a thought, and it could be a thought process. It could be a way of thinking as well that will come back to you. That's how we design our reality, in many ways. But I harped on how many of our people, we have been, well, for one thing, it doesn't start with us. It really, I can't really blame our people, but because the destruction didn't start with us, really, it really didn't. And once you get it in your mind, I'm going to talk about that, how the destruction isn't within us. When we look at the movie Annihilation, because I think I got a video set up for reviewing and sitting and breaking down Annihilation, the movie Annihilation. That's why I want to let you all know ahead of time. It's important that y'all watch that movie if you want to come back and have that discussion with me on that movie. And I want to give you a little heads up because you ain't going to see it, because our reality for us is we used to seeing white people make white movies. But this is a white supremacist movie, and we have to recognize that majority of the movies out here are white supremacist movies. And once we open our eyes to that reality, it's white supremacist in the way that it's not coming from our perspective. It's coming from all of their perspective of how they see the world, how they view us, what we mean to them. If they put us in the movie, it's what we mean to them, what we represent. So when we look at that movie, you're gonna hear me harp over destruction because it's very critical in that movie. So, but I'm gonna pinpoint that we don't naturally harbor destruction within us as a people. So unless it's necessary destruction, unless it's necessary, because there's a time for building and there's a time for destroying, but not unnecessary destruction, not self-destruction. But when harping on that point, let's get back on the chit chat point. So basically, destruction starts in the mind, right? So we were captives. We've always been prisoners, right? So now we're prisoners not only of this reality, we're prisoners to our own minds. So, in being prisoners in our own minds, we have been geared. We have been geared and forced to look outside ourselves. So, when we look outside ourselves for spirituality, we look outside ourselves. We're gonna devalue who we are, and we're gonna put value on that thing that's outside of us. And in that self, and in itself, that's what started our destruction as a people. That's what started us to be destructive towards ourselves as a people, because we have been taught the religious lie of continuously to take ourselves around and around in a circle and to destroy self for something outside ourselves that is new. And in doing that, it does, you got to think about the individual. That's why we see people we call coons. You call them coons. I don't call them coons, even though it makes me sick too. My stomach. Okay, I dig you. I'm there. It makes me sick, but to the point, we have to understand these things. We have to really, really understand these things. And once we can understand these things, we then know that we're different from that is outside of us. We're way different than that which is outside of us and has made us into what they are. So let's look at that point of self-hate. That's what self-hate is built from. So we put emphasis on those things and entities that are outside of ourselves. So our mind is already destroyed. Our mind is already destroyed because any other group, they don't have to do that. They don't have to do that. Guarantee they don't do that. They don't do that. When they should be doing it. They should be doing it, but they don't do that because they don't have to. They haven't been put in the situation that we are put in. You see what I'm saying? So we're unique in that aspect. But until we recognize as a whole that that's the issue, is the mind that has been reprogrammed from its nature to accept and to value that which is outside of self more, and to fight against that love for self that you should have, that love for self that you must have and you should have to thrive, to move on, to not be stuck in one spot, to move forward, you know. But to grow, basically, you need that healthy love for self to grow. And it's no other, it's only healthy love for self. You cannot have an unhealthy love for self. The unhealthy love for self comes when you are influenced by that which is outside that self. That which is outside of self is will knock you all the time out of balance and cause total chaos for you. And that's what we endure now. We're enduring total chaos because we are not listening, we're not learning um, from self, from self. Because that's the number one place you learn from is yourself. You know, you don't learn from me or from anybody else. You learn from self. Self is going to guide you to people. Self is going to guide you to people and places and things. That's what self does. And yourself, you got to realize, is connected to the what? Universe. Your mind, your mind is your heaven, and it's your it can be your hell, but we don't go there, okay? We want to continue to make it your heaven. You got the control over the mind. You got the control of the mind. Any questions you have will be answered, like I said. That's how it works. Even if you ask it in your own mind, you eventually you're gonna be guided to it. You're gonna it's gonna be like, let's say now we got a question. It'd be like 4 or 5 days later, and you start seeing your answer. You'd be like, wow, wow. You just have to we just have to keep in tune, because sometimes I'll be out of tune with it. And I'll be like, but then when I'm in my quiet time, that's why they keep us in this society so busy, so preoccupied with this and that. We want to, I forgot what they said in the movie, but we want to genetically alter ourselves. We want to uh, technically alter ourselves. We want to be, we want to strive to be this. But what about our nature? What about just being with self and hearing self and thinking and being cautious and just being without worrying about, people, everybody wants heaven, but they think it takes hell to get to heaven. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants heaven, but they think it takes hell to get to heaven. It doesn't take hell to get to heaven. All these things in the world are created. Jobs are created. Priorities are created. Priorities, well, I should do everything in order, right? Say it in order. Because one thing leads to another. It's like the domino effect. That's one thing about me. When I leave this earth, and I'm gonna be ready with my bags packed, because I'm telling you, I ain't gonna miss anything. I'm not gonna feel like I'm left out of anything, and I'm not gonna feel like I left something behind. You got to believe that. And I'm not gonna feel like, because one thing you recognize about your time on this planet is that there's prices you have to pay. You pay your attention, you pay your peace for non-peace. It's just, And when you see the world for what it really is, nah, you you'll be flapping with like you got wings in the air to get away from this place with your bags on your back. That's me. That's how I'll be because I won't miss a thing. A thing where I would have to come back and do this all over again. No, I don't think so. I really don't think I would have to do that because there's nothing that I feel like there's no unfinished. I guess they call it unfinished business. No, there's no unfinished business for me. There's no thing that I want to do on this planet anymore. There's nothing. There's nothing here, you know, really nothing. Nothing spectacular. I know the only thing that there is war. War, war, and more war. I can tell you, you can ask me what this planet's going to be doing in the next 5 years. And the word probably start with a W and end with a R. So don't think I will miss out on anything because that's what it's about here. It's about survival. And let's get into the nitty gritty. The nitty gritty is that just like you see the vampire movies, what happens to the maidens? What happens to the women and some of the men? And I realize the men can turn into vampires as well once they get bitten. Once you get bitten by some creature that is out, let's say it's outside of you, because it is outside of you. You're not a vampire. So you would have to be bitten by a vampire to turn into a vampire. So in this article I'm about ready to read to you all later, I just thought about something. Maybe I should go on and do it now. But I'll just do it later. I'll do the video on it because basically you would know what I'm saying when once I read it, when once I talk about this article later on, once I finish the video of it. But anyway, the nitty-gritty of the point that I'm trying to make is that you you don't appreciate your nature, or you forced not to appreciate your nature. Like we were in slavery, we were forced not to appreciate our nature. We were forced to take on someone else's ways. So in our minds, in that programming, we've taken on their ways, and their ways have not been good for us. So seeing that their ways are not good and healthy for us, we are prisoners of war now. But being prisoners of a war, you you have Stockholm syndrome, and you see no good in yourself and others around you. So you do self-destruction, not only self-destruction, but destruction of your whole group of people through your mind, through your mind. Because now you allow we allow so much to come in. We allow so much to come in and destroy us as a people. Because our minds, it's not just one person's mind, but it's many of our minds are focused on what is outside of us, and that thing that's outside of us is more valued than us. And now we see that thing that's outside of us no longer as the enemy. It's we're our own enemies now. We're the enemies against ourselves. And that's what we allow to be created in our minds. And we keep creating it in a way because we give birth to it as well, many of us. Like the dark skinned men, black men, will end up having a my battery's about ready to go low, family. I probably should let me see. I probably should go get a battery. Let me go get a battery really. Battery charger. Okay, Camp, I'll be there in a second. I'm just trying to get situated with the battery. My battery went dead on my phone, so just trying to get it situated here. Hold on. All right. Here comes the rain. Here comes the rain again, falling on my head like a memory, falling on my head like a new emotion. Oh, you can't see. There you go. Yeah, welcome, Camp. Welcome. But anyway, let me finish talking about this. Well, dark skinned men and dark skinned women do not recognize that we make it worse for ourselves when we go out here and we reproduce with something that's so opposition to who we are, in opposition to our existence, in opposition to our existence. See, we're not destructional people. We are people who like to build, create. So we give life to things. We give life to things. And the opposition to us gives death to things. So when you're bringing something into the world that possesses both, you cause confusion and chaos, is what you birth into the world. So now there's light-skinned black people in the world, and then now we got these light-skinned, now we got these mixed children that call themselves light-skinned as well, but they're confused and they carry a whole lot of confusion and destruction with them, in them. So when someone meets someone like me who kind of looks kind of similar, but I'm a whole black person, I don't carry the mentality of someone who has two different oppositional worlds rolling around within their DNA. I have only one world, and I'm a very powerful being at that. I only have one world rolling around in me, and I'm a very powerful being, and I've embraced my powers to know why I can say I'm a very powerful being, and therefore want to connect me to the Caucasian world, which I'm far from, as a person. I'm far from the Caucasian world, far from it, you know. I've been down that road as a child because I was put into an environment where I felt like, like a dark skinned person who would be put in that same environment would feel like they have to figure out how to connect with these people. And that's one thing I had to do. I had to figure out. And even though I knew that it was biologically and atomically impossible for me to connect with these people, Caucasians, being the Caucasians. But one thing I've never had a problem with was connecting to my own people. And I never felt anything towards my uncomfort towards my own people. I never ever felt any uncomfort towards my own people. Matter of fact, I felt the opposite. I felt more comfortable around my own people versus I do these Caucasians. See what I'm saying? It's kind of plays on my psyche, on my psyche. So when, but it's the opposite for someone who comes from a black, let's say, have a white mother and a black father. It's the opposite for them. It's totally the opposite. They're like this girl explained in the article I'm gonna read for you guys later in the video. Um, she talked about feeling like she was in her own. She was in the middle. She's in the middle. When I lived in a white neighborhood, I never felt like I was in between worlds. I felt like, hey, I was introduced to this new world of white people. Now I'm doing great camp. Now I know I have something great in my blackness. That's how I felt. That was my mentality. I have something greater than this because the white world I knew was kind of a lower world for me. And I know that my black world was, I always put that up high, regardless of what my perception was and what I went through and what I was taught. I always put my blackness up high, upheld it because that was me and that was what I got from my culture, from my culture, the music, everything at the time. The music was flying high, flying very high, like the eagle. So, how are you doing today, Camp? So when I got, so I knew I wasn't connected to the Caucasian world. The only thing that connected me to that was just meeting people, becoming friends, recognizing that, you know, learning that they were just very, very different than you and me. Very, very different. And culture wise, and thinking, biologically different. I remember thinking, because I was always trying to figure out a way to be like them, to be like the girls, and to maybe do my because what it was is I'll tell you what it was. It was the products they would use on their hair and the products they would use, like in the summertime when it came to sun tanning and stuff like that. That's good, Camp. When it came to sun tanning and stuff like that, they would put some stuff on their skin. Or my friend, she would put sun in her hair, and it would change, like the sun would change the color of her hair, would change it to a lighter color. And I put some stuff on my feet, and I was so mad at myself because my feet for a long time. Because if you wear sandals, you already got two-tone toes, anyways. So in the summertime, it took a while before that. When I put that suntan and stuff on my feet, it took years before that stuff faded off because it made my feet look two toned for a long time. My feet was two toned for a long time. Let's just say that. But anyway, this you can imagine it's totally different biologically for someone who's biologically connected to the Caucasian race and biologically connected to the black race. See, I was only biologically connected to the black race. But I knew a lot of girls in my neighborhood who were biologically connected to both, to both black and white. Because one girl, her mother was black and her dad was white. And then another girl, her dad was white and her dad was black and her mother was white. And she was really knee deep in it. She would hang out with the special girls down the street that I called special girls because they would like to. They always had the hound dogs. Let's just say that the hound dogs in the hood whistling and hollering on the hoop in the neighborhoods. The hooligans, I should say. But you see, it's a big difference between creating your own and going outside of yourself and procreating with something else that is atomically different than you, anatomically different than you, and creating more destruction on top of destruction. So that's the first level of destruction we talked about already, was the destruction we received in slavery, and we started it in our minds. They started it in our minds by religion and whiteism, recognizing that whiteism is the face of of not necessarily success, but of prominence. Okay, prominence. So, or greatness, a greatness in this within this society. Let's say that. So, so that's what you think. But now we have a lot of confusion. We have a lot of confusion in the black community now, and a lot of people get lumped together that are not anatomically the same. You see, balance is would be two black parents getting together and having a baby versus the imbalance, the opposite of that. And I don't have to prove it. It's evident. It's evident in our reality today, where we're at, where we're living at. It's evident all around us here. You see, in this world that we are in, under these clouds right here, is evident. You just go and talk and do your interviews with any biracials. Interview a married couple if they're going to be honest with you about their relationship. Interracial couples. Interview people that are married that are black together. Two black couples. Interview. Go in the inner cities and interview people and ask the right questions. Now you got to know what to ask, because you're going to ask about the daily life of being who they are and their experiences, and how whether or not they've experienced certain things, or especially about interracial relationships. You know, if they're honest with you about things like people's perspectives, and um, like, you can be in school and it's your interaction with certain people. You know what I'm saying? So, or not even in school, it could be in your neighborhood that you grew up in. You know, like me, that's where most of my interactions were. But a lot of my interaction, well, yeah, most of my interactions, like for me, you know, I didn't interact. I didn't interact with that mixed girl, the one that had the white father and the black mother. I didn't interact, but now I do. Now I speak to her. Now that I'm older, but back then I didn't have much interaction with. I did have a little interaction because just hi and bye maybe, but for me, it was almost as if she was better than thought she was better than me. Maybe it was something in my mind, but that's what I'm talking about when you go do your interviews, and if you want to know this to be true, what I'm saying, that our destructions is because of these things. And it still is because of these things. And it has worsened, it has gotten worse through these things because we haven't recognized that that's been a tactic that that's what they started out against our women, black women first, by raping them. But we've always had light skin. We have all color people with that we've dealt with. So it's quite natural. It's quite natural. I'm back. I'm sorry. I'm back. But like I said, it's evident our self destruction starts in the mind. Our mind does not have to be our enemy. Our mind can be our best tool. Like I'm using this cell phone as a tool, and I use my computer as a tool. And we use everything that we use things as tools, right? So we have to utilize our minds in a different way and stop making it our enemy. And it's not our enemy, it's the best thing that we've been given to not only protect ourselves, but to guide us through our journey. So, number one protection is stop taking in things that and devaluing self. We have to stop devaluing ourselves and look into the outside for all these things because it's never going to happen. A Messiah is not going to ever come down from the sky for us. We don't need that. The Messiah is within each one of us carry a Messiah. Um, we just don't pay attention to it. But I'm gonna have I'm trying to do a campfire horror story, not horror stories and horror that we know of in this world, but it's gonna be from my world of Halloween tales, from the lessons from the hood. So look forward to that, and remember that we control our minds and our thinking. And knowing that, even before I was aware of certain things, I dealt with my mind a lot, anyways. So it's important to deal with our minds because that's the spiritual world. That's where we connect with our gods inside of us. That's where we know our ancestors that have passed and no longer on this earth. That's where they dwell. So I won't be staying on here too long, family. But I'll probably be back on. What's today? Today's Thursday. Yeah, I'll be back on later on. I might make it a late night. I don't know. It's if I get back home in time to take a nap, get up about 9 or 8, get up about 8:30, then I might make it. I might come back on and do a live. So With that said, true love, real peace, the higher self within, the soul. Till next time, peace. And thank you, Cam, for being here. Peace and love.